Hey everybody, it's Gail and it's Errata-Hate episode 60. We made it! Before I dive in, I want to say a quick thank you to everyone who has been encouraging and patient while this batch of episodes 51 through 60 has been in production. I know it took a while. I am hoping 61 through 70 don't take as long. But I do want you to know that I really appreciate your patience, and I will keep updating as I'm working on stuff with videos about what's up. But you just got 10 weeks of videos. I'm very proud of myself. Life is good. So, well, this is the 10th week, obviously. But for today, I want to concentrate on the how-to, which is going to be a halter top. I didn't wear halter tops for a long time because I've got the heavy boobs. But last summer, I finally just got so tired of just being coated in sweat under my bra. I was like, if I'm going to be sweaty and gross, like, at least I don't have to be wearing a bra. So I made a halter top, and I wore it a few times. It was very comfy. But I had not actually brought it back far enough, so it was causing some side boob issues I didn't care for, so I stopped wearing it. But I'd always planned to make another, and it's currently 95 goddamn degrees outside for something like the 19th day in a row. And before you sass me, I live in Oregon. I moved away from this to be in Oregon, where it's not supposed to do this for 3 weeks. It's some bullshit. Anyway, so I'm making a halter top, and you will be getting these instructions to make the halter top sometime in the fall, because I never think seasonally when I plan these things. But it means you can get a head start. So first of all, I am double stranding a worsted weight yarn because, again, heavy boobs, and so I prefer to use a bulky yarn to kind of help keep things where they need to be. I'm specifically using Heartland in a really nice dark brown. I really like this brown. I think you can kind of see it in the light. It's got a nice heathering to it. And so the first thing I did, as I always do, is I made a big starting chain that fits around my rib cage. Now, the thing about the halter top you have to remember, so see, and it's a little bit short because it's going to be tied. The only thing you really have to worry about with a halter top is making sure that your boobs are covered, but your back doesn't have to be covered, which is a weird thing for me to consider because, you know, as I've mentioned twice already, heavy boobs. So I've made my chain. And so if you're making this and you have a bra line around that fits well, just take the band size. So, you know, if you're a 32, if you're a 44, whatever, you know, you can just use that as your starting chain in terms of how long it needs to be. So what I'm going to do now is a series of work even rows. And I wanted to show you what those look like because you can work on them. It's a very easy start. So here is my starting pattern. So this is the bottom. Here's my chain. These are half double crochet stitch symbols, the little crosses. And then as you can see, I've got chain stitches up here as well. And so this is the chain I just showed you. I'm going to work 2 rows across in just regular half double crochet. And then on that 3rd row, I'm going to work a half double crochet, a chain stitch, skip the stitch underneath it, half double crochet, chain stitch, skip stitch, all the way across. And then I'm going to come back and do 1 more work even row across the top. And then after that, I'm going to start my row decreases so we can get that nice shape you get in a halter. And the reason I'm doing this row with the half doubles and the chains with the skip stitches is because at the end, when we make the ties, that's where they're going to lace into. So I'm going to go get started on this, and I'm holding it up here so you guys can pause if you need to look at it. And I will be back for the next step. We're back. So I finished those rows that I showed you. The 2 rows are working even, and then the rows with the chains and skip stitches, and then the other row working even. And now the next step from here is to start doing decreases so you can get that nice sort of smooth angle that you get off good halter tops. And the good news is I have another chart. So this bottom row is the row that we just finished. And what I'm going to do next is start on the next row. I'm going to do my chain 2. I'm going to put in my first half double crochet. Then I'm going to do a decrease over 2 stitches. Work even all the way across. That's what this means. You're just working your way across. And then in the last 3 stitches, in the last 4 stitches, excuse me, I am going to do a set of decreases, and then those last 2 stitches, and then I'm going to come up, chain 2, land my first half double, and then work across even. And then I'm going to repeat that pattern of the decrease row and then the work even row 5 times. So when I'm done, I will have 6 sets of decreases over 12 rows. And I'm not going to show you how to half double decrease because I've never been able to find a really good example of it, and so I don't know that I do it right. So just half double decrease to the best of your ability, and you will be fine. I'm sure of it. So I'm going to go and do this. Do this 6 times, and we will evaluate where we are then. Okay, I'm back, and I've got that first set of decreases done. As you can see, I've got a nice angle here that shows my decreases have been pulling in the fabric. And when I wrap it around to get sort of an idea of the fit, you can see that nice even diagonal that's coming up into my armpit. And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see a nice clean line. I didn't explain this in the previous part of the video, and I apologize, but the reason that I do the 2 stitches before I start decreasing is so that line on the outside stays nice and clean. I've had problems with bunching and like sort of balling up of stitches if I do them on the end all the time, and so I shifted. So what we're going to do from here is even more decreases because halter tops are triangles. And so I have another little post-it. It's not the best, I just realized, because I don't show you row ends, but like, I know you guys can do this. You saw how to do the last one. I know you got this. So there are no chain stitches on this one, and I apologize, but this is the row you just finished here. And so what you're going to do, this is your starting part here. So you're going to work these 2 stitches, then this first stitch might be 2 chains. You're going to work these 2 stitches. You're going to decrease over 2 stitches. You're going to work 2 stitches in the next 2 stitches. You're going to decrease again, and then you're going to work your way across to the other end, and then basically do this in reverse. You're going to come up to these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to come up to the last 8 stitches, and you're going to decrease. You're going to work 2. You're going to decrease, and you're going to work your final 2. And then you're going to come up on the next row, work 2, work a single stitch into the previous row decrease, work a decrease over the next 2 stitches from the previous row, work a single stitch in the second decrease from the previous row, and then you're going to decrease over the next 2 stitches, and then you're going to work even again across, and then when you come across, you're going to do this part here where you decrease, you work 1, you decrease, you work 1, and then you work those last 2, and then you're going to work a row of even. And we're going to do this pattern, so these 3 rows here, we're going to do these 3 times. And it might be that I come back and I decide we're going to do a couple more of them. But what I'm doing with this is I'm bringing in those sides very quickly by doing that number of decreases in a row. But I'm also helping guarantee that things are going to be pretty smooth by altering the stack of my decreases so they're not all on top of each other, and also working that work even row every couple of rows to help kind of get things nice and flat. So we're going to do this. We're going to do 9 rows. I believe in you guys. We got this. And I will be back when I've done mine. Okay, I'm back, and there is a strange man in the background. Hello, strange man. So I finished that next set of decreases, and let me show you how we're looking so far. So I'm now at the point where this is going to go past my arm, which is great. Worth noting, however, is that this is definitely longer than I first meant it to be, and that has to do with the fact how I'm doing the decreases, because we did that first set of just single decreases in each row, and then we added decreases in this last section. So that's something you kind of have to play around with when you're figuring out how stuff's going to lay out for you. So maybe you figured out already that your halter based on this information is a little too long. the best way to fix that, skip the first set of decreases that I showed you and just do the second set to begin with, and that's going to bring things in faster. But now I'm going to show you the third set that we're going to do. And this is going to be so we can get it from kind of that point here to that up to the neck. And so to do that, we're going to add another set of decreases as we work every row. And so here it is. So this down here is the work even row you just finished. And we're going to do the same, you know, come in 2 stitches, then we're going to decrease over 2 stitches, work 2 stitches, decrease over 2 stitches, work 2 stitches, decrease over 2 stitches, and then work all the way across to the last, this is 12 stitches altogether here. So working your way working your way to the other end. So if this was the first end, you'd work your way over to the last 12 stitches on this end, and then you would repeat this same decrease process, starting from this decrease, working out to the edge. And so once you've done that and you start on the next row, what you're going to do is you're going to work 3 half doubles, so you're picking up this decrease in this stitch, and then you're going to decrease over 2 stitches. You're going to work a single stitch into the previous row's decrease. You're going to decrease over 2 stitches again, work a single stitch over the previous row's decrease, and then decrease another time over 2 stitches, and then work your way over, and then again the last 12 stitches do this again. And then on the third row of this pattern, you're going to work even across to get things nice and smooth. And you're going to see a few little holes start to pop up because this is a lot of decreases to kind of stack on each other. But like, you know, let it happen, get your work done. I promise you it'll calm down, it'll adjust itself after you've given it a chance to sort of relax when we're done. So it's gonna look good, I promise. So I have this note here that says we're gonna do this 3 times. You know, I have a question mark next to it. And the reason I have a question mark is because at this stage, I don't know how many stitches you have left. I actually have not counted my own. And so what can happen is that I can say, let's do this these 9 rows, you know, these 3 rows times 3. And, you know, then we'll see where we are, but it might be depending on how you want yours to fit, or the shape of you versus the shape of me, that you end up having your decreases run together very quickly. And if that's the case and you have not worked those repeats, you're doing fine. You know, this is about fitting to you. I'm sorry, the light is really bad in here today. Maybe that's, oh, there we go. Got it better. So it's all about fitting it to you, and so, you know, make sure to kind of see how it's fitting, and do you like where it is, and if you get to the point that you like where the neckline is, you can just stop and jump to the next part, which is going to be about the neckline, and the neckline is going to be like how we did the bottom. We're going to put in another set of the chain spaces to put the ties in. So it's going to be pretty simple. I mean, that's the whole point of this project, something fun and simple. So I'm going to go do my decreases and see if I'm right about this being the right amount of decreases for me, and I will see you guys later. Say goodbye, weird man. Alright, so I was right about my suspicions that I might not need 3 repeats. I only did 2, and now I've got a nice neckline going here that I like. So now that I have my decreases where I want them to do the neck, I'm going to finish off the neck by doing basically the same thing we did at the bottom, like I mentioned. So this is the row you just worked. This is the work even row. So you're going to work even another row, and then you're going to do a half double, a chain, and a skip, a half double, a chain, and a stitch, a half double, a chain, and a skip, and you're going to work that straight across. And then rather than doing 2 rows at the top like we did at the bottom to start this bit, we're just going to work 1 more row even. We're going to fasten off, and then I will show you how to do the ties. Now the ties are very simple. You're just going to take 3 strands of yarn and do a chain stitch to get the length that you want. But I have a little trick that I do when I'm working with ties so that I don't end up making something that's too short or too long, and so I'll show you how to do that when I get back. Hey, I am back with the drawstring work, and it's a little hard to see my loops because, well, dark brown don't show up great on camera, so different decisions next time, you know. So anyway, as you can see, I've started, so here's the open loops the open stitches, excuse me, not loops, that we're going to work in. I've been working them across, that's why you can't see them. And so what I like to do when I have it on my tapestry needle, because I'm going over and then coming up from under, so I like to get a few stitches at a time, a few of those chains at a time through, and then I just pull through multiple spots. And of course, now that I say this, after it's worked perfectly off camera, it's catching on me a little bit. There we go. And so I don't have, you notice I don't have a lot left to stitch in, but I do have quite a bit left to go. And so we go to the other end that I'm working on. And what I have done is, rather than trying to guess and having to redo and redo and redo if my chain is not long enough, I've got this big loop with the hook still in it. And so I can just pull that tight again. And pull that tight again. There we go. So I pulled that tight again, and I can just keep adding chains. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do 10. All of my yarn is behind me next to the chair, so it's a little complicated. And then I'm going to pull that loop big again, come back this direction, and I'm going to start pulling things a little bit forward. And what that's going to do, it's definitely going to shorten up on this end, but now I have more to work with on the working end. So I'm going to put my tapestry needle back on, and I'm going to keep working those chain spaces. And so what I can do is keep working chain spaces, adding some loops to the chain, and going back and forth until I get the length I want on the ties, and then, just cutting off at the length that I like. Now, the other thing that you can do, and this is really, it depends on if you like to kind of measure it exactly, or if you're just kind of like, I just want to do this thing as quickly as possible. Make a super long effing chain, like make a chain as tall as you are, or like a chain when I'm 5'2", so, make a chain that's 5 feet 2 inches tall. Go ahead and work it into those chain spaces, and then leave that big loop at the end. And then what you can do, rather than having to guess if you've got enough for the length of the tie you want, you can just pull out all the chain stitches you don't want to use and fasten off from there. So you've got a couple of different options. I feel like there was something else I was going to tell you, but it's slipping my mind now. But I still gotta take the final, it's done and we did it video. So if I remember that other thing I meant to tell you, I'll tell you. So I will see you in a few. All right, we're all done. Got both the ties on, and I remembered the thing that I was going to tell you, which is the reason that I do a triple strand chain for the chain spaces and the ties is so it blends in really nicely and you don't see any big gaps around the neck or around the waist when you're tying everything in. If you want those spaces to be a little more open, just do a double strand tie, you'll be good to go. So quick fashion turn here. I'm very pleased. It's super comfy. I especially like that I've got a little extra space at the top. It's kind of how I prefer them, just because, again, heavy boobs. And that's episode 60. So we made it to episode 60. You guys are awesome. I'm really hoping that batch 7 rolls out fairly quickly after batch 6, but I don't know yet. So fingers crossed on that. As always, if you enjoy what I do here on Errata-Hate, please like, subscribe, and share. And I want to note before I sign off completely that I made all those little charts, and I found a great acrylic, the Bernay Outdoors acrylic, that I think could make a really cute halter. So I'm actually going to be doing a written pattern with charts of this pattern that we just did together. And I'm going to have the two versions. I'm going to have this long version, and then I'm also going to do a shorter version. So that pattern is going to be $5. However, if you subscribe to this channel, just send me a screenshot that shows that you're subscribed, and I will email you the pattern for free, because you guys are here supporting me like this now, and it is the very least I can do for you to make a written pattern available if I'm doing it based off something I'm making here. So that's it. I will see you for batch 7. I really hope that by the time you view this, it's not 100 damn degrees outside.